Last question. Alex says, "Hey Bradley, quick question. Since GHL doesn't have the ability to do inner folders yet, would it be a drawback or create crawl resistance slash over optimization? So crawl resistance or over optimization if we do .com/tree service Denver, Colorado, in lieu of having the inner folder capability. I've seen some people doing. Is that just the case of bad SEO or emulating the inner folder structure can help? No, I mean, look, I don't like to over optimize the URL. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So if personally, you don't really, I mean, look, the URL structure, I talk about this, guys. I've been teaching about this for fucking 10 years. No kidding. But the difference, it's what you call a virtual silo or physical silo. A virtual silo is you still create silo structure, but the URL doesn't show it, right? The URL is just going to say domain.com/permalink or post slug, page slug, whatever it is. So the hierarchy of the page structure doesn't show in the URL. That's a virtual silo. A physical silo, it shows in the URL. So that would be like in WordPress, if you use the category/post name permalink structure, then you were going to see it all in the URL. I prefer to see it in the URL personally. But I don't like to over optimize the URLs, the slugs, right? The permalinks. And so I don't like these types of permalinks because usually tree service in my industry would be in the domain or something very similar. And so I'm usually just going to have Denver as the slug, right? Or Denver-CO, right? Because I don't want to over optimize. But can you do that? Yeah, of course you can. But the reason why I don't like to I say over optimize the URLs, and that's not really over optimization, but well, it depends. It depends on what the SEO, or excuse me, the domain is. But um, because remember, that's the first touch point, guys, not just for Google, but for language models, right? How does all the bots crawl the web? It's through links. So links is always the first touch point, right? It's always the link first, and then they read from right to left, or excuse me, left to right, top to bottom. So the bots do, right? So very much like we read in English, right? So they read left to right, top to bottom. So you got the URL, then you have the SEO title. Then there's the H1. I'm talking about the main optimization elements of the page, right? So there's the URL, SEO title, then the H1, which is another title. The titles are the SEO title or meta title, and the H1, which is the page or post title, right? So URL titles, then you have headings, H2s, subheadings, H3s, 4s, 5s, etc., internal links and media, or media and internal links, right? Those are your main optimization elements. And so if you're going to be optimizing those other elements of the page, then I like to de-optimize the URL to just be basically the essence of what the page is. So treecare.com/Denver is what I would put, or Denver-CO, right? But yeah, can you do that? Yes, you can. But just you got to be careful because remember, when you have a very optimized URL or permalink, then at least according to Google, it doesn't matter the language models, but to Google, it's like the first touch point when it's super optimized, it's like it taints the lens in which Google is going to be looking at the rest of the page through. Do you understand? It's almost like you're flagging it right off the start. Okay, well, this smells fishy. It smells like an SEO's got his hands all over this, right? Because the first touch point's super optimized. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying be careful because that can oftentimes trigger over optimization if you've super optimized the rest of the page. So just be careful with that. That's all. Can you do that? Yes, of course you can. Okay. If somebody doesn't want to create subdomain sites but wants to use one domain for all location pages, can you do that? Yeah, of course you can. Remember though, there's a little bit of danger with that because if the site ever gets penalized by something, everything's going to tank. If you have subdomains, if the root domain gets slapped with a penalty, then all subdomains will get hurt. But if the subdomain, any individual subdomain gets slapped with a penalty, it will isolate to that particular subdomain. So that's part of the reason why I like to use subdomains. All right.